Mendez. I am a history student at Southern Hampshire University. Today I'm presenting you information on Mendez versus Westminster, which deals with integration. How many of you know what integration is? Raise your hand, right hand if you know what integration is in schools. Raise your hand. Yes? Okay, so the misconception is the greatest court case in the United States that basically started integration was Brown versus Board of Education. 1954, Topeka, Kansas, and NAACP, led by Thurgood Marshall, was the lead counsel, tries Brown versus Board of Education, challenging Plessy versus Ferguson from 1896. Okay? So, Plessy versus Ferguson, segregation is constitutional, separate but equal. It's a big term, separate but equal. Meaning, black people and white people have their own restrooms, as long as they look the same, it's cool. They can't use the same one, they have their own. That court case decides constitutional, separate but equal. Not a complete, coherent thought. In my opinion, not fair. Not fair at all. Because your toilet could be disgusting and dirty all the time, but if theirs is clean, as long as you have a toilet, we're even. That's basically what it states. Okay? California, large issue based on segregation on race. In California, in the 1800s, Chinese are brought into California to build the railroads. They're taking jobs from settlers. People have come west to California for the gold rush. Okay? Now you cause the animosity. The white Anglo-Americans who were present starting to have issues with the Chinese immigrants who are getting paid to be here and do the labor at a cheaper cost. So what does that do? It creates tension. Well, you also know that California to the south, Mexico borders it. You have a lot of Mexican immigrants coming north to harvest the fields, work on farms, try to have a better life, improve their situation. So, the 1800s, 1890s, 1900s started to see immigration quotas for white immigrants flooding to the United States from everywhere. Ellis Island in New York is the station of opportunity, if you will. Everyone coming from the east, coming through there. People coming from the south of the United States, coming across all the borders. Okay? California Love, right? Everyone knows the song, Tupac, great song, right? Yes? Okay, you guys laugh. It's true, though. Gold Rush, people coming from everywhere. Coming from as far as Ireland, England. You know, they're coming across the United States, trekking to get everything they have for the gold rush. They want to make money, right? Who doesn't want to make money? Restrictions start to arise. Immigration quotas start limiting who can come into the United States. What they can do per year. We don't want immigrants here. They're bad for us. So this is a snippet of what Asian Americans felt was theirs. There's the setting sun smiling in the background, almost like the flag of Japan. You have the Asian immigrant down here basically being kicked in the butt, get out of our country, bound for sand. Propaganda. Okay? Fuels the tension. You got to wake up every morning, you see this, if you're an Asian immigrant, that's exactly how you feel. So propaganda starts fueling the fire for everyone involved. 1919, Mexicans go to school. Go to that school? 1919, Santa Ana Unified School District opens the first Mexican school. Doesn't seem too far away, right? But Santa Ana's not too far from here. For anybody who plays football, you guys who played modern day, you guys go down there, it's like 30 minutes. That's the first Mexican school. This theory starts in 1913. Let's segregate Hispanics in the Southwest. Give them their own school. They need to learn with their own people. It doesn't make sense, right? It just doesn't make sense. East School District developed a Mexican school by 1930. 15 schools in all in Orange County. In 11 years, they built 15 schools just for Mexicans. On top of the schools they already had for the white kids. So you're telling me right now, in 15 years they found the funding to build, in 11 years they built 15 schools. Seems kind of weird, right? Doesn't that bother you guys a little bit thinking about that? Man, they could find funding in 11 years to build 15 schools just for the Mexicans that have somewhere to go. I'm going to show you a snippet from a video right here. You guys will let me get to it. I'm going to fast forward to the scene in this video right here so I can show you guys. Because there's actually a Mexican school not too far from you guys here. And some of you guys might be appalled by it. Okay, so what we're showing you right here on this list, I know it's tough to see, is these are the schools that are designated for Mexicans. La Habra School District, your neighbor to the east. Wilson Elementary was the Mexican school in La Habra. It's now where, based on maps and me digging some research, now kind of where Lambert and Beach Boulevard are now. And that area is where the school was. It was shut down in 1950. But you guys, that's in your backyard. You guys drive through La Habra all the time. That's 55 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago. Not that long ago, you had a school just for Mexicans right there. So I'm bringing that in because I want you guys to understand, like this is not something that was just like a national problem. Because when you hear the word segregation, you think of black-white. Everyone thinks in history, black-white. You think of the black people sitting at the lunch counter and the dogs go by them and they get hit with fire hoses, right? That's what most people see, right? You see in the movies, Million Man March, all that stuff, right? Not saying that didn't happen, but for a lot of people here in the Southwest, it was the same thing for Hispanics. So we're getting to the case we're building to, which is Mendez versus Westminster. This is 1930. Schools are in place. Okay, this one was built in 1914, replaced the grammar school that already existed. All these right here: Westminster, Orange; Costa Mesa, Savannah's Anaheim, Magnolia's Anaheim, El Medina's Orange, Garden Grove, Placentia, Anaheim, Santa. So you're talking about 4 districts in Anaheim that had schools. Anaheim's a big city. 1942, Sleepy Lagoon takes place. Sleepy Lagoon, as some of you probably have never heard, it's a little snippet in the history book about a paragraph. A bunch of Hispanic kids are out partying one night, pachucos, zoot suiters right there, having a good time. There's 2 different versions of the story. First version is that they end up going through a riverbed, and they come across a guy who's already been beaten up. Okay? Well, a bunch of white kids go by and see this and report it to the police. And all of a sudden the police are like, we have a huge problem on our hands. These Mexican-American immigrants, they're causing us a big issue, and it's starting to be a problem for us. So what happens is you have mass hysteria. Everyone's afraid of Hispanic kids now. Everyone's afraid of zoot suiters. They present a problem. They're violent, they're dirty, they're causing problems in our communities. Okay, at this time, there's a lot more than just schools being segregated. You guys, housing. If you're a Mexican, you live in that block. You guys ever go to like Westminster, see Little Saigon, Chinatown, Koreatown? You guys know what that stems from? Little Armenia. That's where they lived. That's where they were forced to live when they were young. When the immigration quotas went in, you lived with your people. You lived with people who looked like you, who were your ethnicity. So now to us, they're just like landmarks. They're just little places we go. You know? But you go to Westminster, Little Saigon was where people from like, that's where they lived. That's where they were forced to live. You live in your area, you stay with your people. Housing regulations are in place. So through this court case, with Sleepy Lagoon, all of a sudden you get mass hysteria. They arrested every single person in this picture. One person is dead. 17 men are tried and convicted or murdered. 17 Hispanic kids are convicted of murder in 1942. And sent to jail. They're in jail for a year, and there's an appeal that goes through. With the appeal, they find that there was no way they could have done this. Circumstantial evidence, there was bias. They weren't given a jury by their peers or their people. You know, it's just that situation until you released. The last known member of the Sleepy Lagoon case died 7 years ago. He lived in Whittier until the day he died. It's crazy. I give you back a lot of history here if you look for it. The next thing we talk about is Zoot Suit riots. Okay, Zoot Suit riots take place in 1943 in the Harbor area, June 7th, I believe. Down in Long Beach Harbor, San Pedro, a bunch of Marines who are pissed off get off a boat and see Zoot Suiters. And at this time, you have to understand that World War II is going on. There's a war effort going on. And things are scarce. Materials, weapons, metal, everything's being conserved for the war effort. Well, you guys ever seen a Zoot Suit or a Pachuco? It's a big, lavish suit, oversized. You look sharp, nice hat. What does that look like? You're disrespecting the people who are fighting for it. So the Marines attack. And these are actual Pachucos right here who are beaten in the middle of the street by Marines. So right now you have a lot of anti-Hispanic, anti-Mexican sentiment in Southern California especially. At the same time, Mr. Mendez, Gonzalo Mendez and his family move into Westminster. In 1945, Mr. Mendez asked his sister, Sally Badari, to enroll his kids at the school. The Lincoln School, which was the closest one to them. It's a white school. Ms. Badari goes to the school. Her kids are allowed to enroll because they have a French last name and they look white. But Mr. Mendez's kids aren't. The administration of the school says, Ms. Badari, your kids can come to the school, but your nieces and nephews can't. They're Mexican. They need to go to the Mexican school. They need to go to Hoover. She's like, I don't understand. I'm bringing them to school here. It's the closest school to her house. They're denied admission. Sally goes home in tears. Doesn't allow her kids to enroll in school. Goes and tells Gonzalo, they won't let the kids in school. They said because they have to go to the Mexican school. Sally, don't worry about it, he says. I'm going to go talk to the principal tomorrow. Try to straighten it all out. Don't worry about it. Goes and talks to the principal. Nothing. Sorry, sir, you need to go to the Mexican school. Your kids are Mexican, you need to go to the Mexican school. You have segregation for a reason. Says, I'm going to go to that Orange County Board of Education. Same thing. No avail. No help. March 2nd, he petitions his case to the court to file to say the segregation is wrong. Petition for his kids to go to the white school. 1945, you guys, 70 years ago, 72 years ago, it's not that long. Some of your grandparents may have had to experience this. Okay, think about that. Some people in your family would have experienced this being segregated in school, and you have no idea. Goes to the first arguments are heard March 2nd, 1945, and Mendez versus Westminster. At the beginning, no one wants to help Mr. Mendez. It's Mr. Mendez and his wife. No one wants to help him. He goes to Hispanic lawyers. No, sorry, sir, we can't help you. Files a petition on his own. Fights his battle on his own and gets it to court to be heard in Superior Court in Westminster. Now, the ACLU, the NAACP, and the Los Angeles Lawyers Guild find out that he's got a case. So what do? They come with a theory. It goes from being Mr. Mendez on the docket to 10 or 12 families. And you have people like Ms. Ochoa, Ms. Torres, Ms. Gomez, and what turns out to be is this. Is the ACLU says, hey, you got a cousin in another district, right? Oh yeah, my cousin Bob, he goes here. And how about you? You have a cousin too, right? They go somewhere? Oh yeah, they go to school there. So they file a class action lawsuit against all of Orange County, the schools in Orange County, against the Board of Education to integrate their schools. They prove that it's unconstitutional to segregate. Separate is not always equal. Okay, forcing people to go to schools that are not near their home. Ms. Ochoa, Jasmine Ochoa, is one of the people the first person interviewed in the case. What's the closest school to you? The Lincoln School. Were you born here, ma'am? Yes, I was. Do you speak English in your home? By her own attorney to prove the case that she's as American as anyone else. Yes. Do you speak Spanish? Yes, but I was born here. I'm an American citizen. My kids were born here. But what school are you supposed to go to? The Hoover School. Why? Well, that's where they send the Mexicans. How far away from your home is that? 1.5 miles. What's the closest school to you? The Lincoln School, the white school. How far is that? 5 blocks. That'd be like you guys who live right around this area being forced to go to Glen every day, and you live right there, and Marmot's right here. You can't come here. That's how it was for them. So getting these people to join this struggle. Here's what happens. They join using, I'm going to jack this word up, amicus curiae, meaning that they're going to volunteer their time. They're not going to get paid to be on the case. But they have a right to get the copies of all the information from this case. That'll come into later when I talk about that, so keep that in mind. They got all the information for the case because they can. David Martin introduces not only the families but experts. He uses cross-field incorporation of disciplinary, cross-disciplines, sociology, right? Brings sociology, science, psychologists, experts on why it's not good to segregate kids. You're not allowing them to grow. You're teaching them things that are wrong. You're not allowing them to learn how to deal with people of different colors and creeds. Okay? And we're going to talk about this right here. I'm going to go back to my video up top. So what they highlight here is a passage on the actual document signed by Judge McCormick, who's the judge in this case is tried. And it states the defendants are not allowed to go to separate schools because it's not within the parts of the Constitution. He highlights it here. Defendants are permanently not allowed to go to schools. They're not supposed to be restrained. He finds it's unconstitutional. He's the first judge in the history of any of the stuff with segregation that finds the information that says it's unconstitutional for you to segregate kids. That's front page headline right there from the LA Times. 1946, the first time they win the court case. 1946, Mr. Mendez wins in court. This was a headline. You guys, this is not front page news to people in Southern California. That's on the inside. I actually found information that's like page 14 of the LA Times. It's hidden inside. No one cared. They didn't feel their bias, didn't feel anybody really cared about that. That's an actual headline, though. That's Sylvia Mendez. She's still alive. She still speaks to people every day. That's her as a child with her picture next to the actual headline from the LA Times. This is a sign that was placed in many restaurants. This is why it's only no Spanish or Mexicans. This is when Judge McCormick, Paul McCormick, admits that segregation is unconstitutional. This case is retried. Okay? The Orange County Board of Education appeals the case, and they lose the appeal. Okay? Now here's the outcome from it. Because the NAACP got involved, Thurgood Marshall is on that case. He sets the groundwork for Board of Ground versus Education. He sets the groundwork. Because he worked on the case voluntarily, he had access to all the notes, everything they brought in. So when they go try Brown versus Board of Education, he has an upper hand. He knows, he was on the front lines with this. Segregation is in the state of California by 1950. Whether you guys realize it or not, they had Japanese schools and Chinese schools as well, following World War II. Every race was segregated to their own school. Very few schools had kids of all colors and races. I spoke with my wife's great uncle, who's 87 years old, who grew up in Watts, California, when it was all Hispanic. And he said his school was one of the few schools he ever attended in elementary school that was integrated. I'm talking about like 1934, there were black kids, Hispanics, whites, all in his school. I asked, well, how many white kids? He said there was 2. I said, okay, at least there was 2 there. But for him, it was different. He said the segregation didn't start until World War II was over. So, Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, and segregation nationwide. Influence. This case has been one of the most influential cases to be tried in the country, yet the average person will not have a clue that this took place. By the look on your face, I think none of you understood that that case preceded Brown versus Board of Education, and there's a reason Brown versus Board of Education won. That court case is why you're allowed to sit where you sit right now. Think about that. In 2017, that case doesn't get tried, they don't get segregation pushed through, none of you are sitting next to each other right now. The ability for one person to stand for what is right is powerful. Sylvia Mendes still fights for the equality on schools and continuing her father's legacy. In closing, this case impacts every single person sitting in a California classroom right now. We've gone through that part of it right here. We are now equal in pursuit of our dreams. There's tons of programs now to protect people who are immigrants coming from other countries to pursue their education here. Lastly, without this court case, Mexican-American athletes could not achieve as much as they have. Okay? For every Hispanic kid on this campus, any campus picked up a scholarship in any sport, you would not have had that opportunity had schools stayed segregated. Or it would have been a lot more difficult. And that's it for me.